Today we're going to be painting with acrylic paints, and we are going to, sorry, I was reaching for a ruler. And we are going to use a canvas, and we're going to be painting a cross since it's Easter week. Very simple, but we're going to work on creating texture with our paint. For this project. You can use whatever colors you want. You want to pick out a series of background colors. I've got several blues here, okay? And then you want to pick out colors for your cross. And I've got purple and black and gray and yellow and white. So the colors that you pick out are totally up to you, but you don't want to have, if you have blues in your background, you don't want to have blues in your cross. So you want two separate sets of colors, okay? You can use yellows in the background and oranges, and then, you know, greens for the cross. It's really whatever colors that you feel particularly drawn to use in this. You also need your water and a palette. A little bit later on, we'll use our ruler, so you will need a pencil to draw a grand total of 2 lines. And I'm looking for some paper toweling here. All right, so I got my paper toweling. Okay, so we want to start with our portrait. Eventually it's going to be portrait style, okay, with the cross going up and down here. But I think it'll be easier for you to paint if we start off with landscape. And the first thing we're going to do will be painting our background. So I'm going to, as always, shake up the paints and put several different colors out here that I want to use. You can use just 2 colors if you want. This is really up to you. And then I think I'll use I think I'll go for 3 colors. So I've got 3 different colors of blue. You can mix them up if you want to. You're experienced enough now to know how to mix up your paint. And then you want to take a fairly large brush. I've got a couple here. I might work a little bit with this 1 inch, and then I have a 3/4 inch. So we have, you know, surface to cover on this. So we want to make sure that we have a big enough brush. Okay, so, oops, got a little water over there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do quick brush strokes. Using 1 color. And we're going to layer these different colors on. Try to cover your surface as much as possible. It doesn't need to be perfect. Now there's going to be lots of drying time between these layers. So have your hair dryers handy. You want the paint to be thick, but not, you know, extraordinarily thick, or it will take a while for it to dry. Once again, excuse the puppy. I swear he knows when I'm getting ready to record. Anyway. Okay, so we're going to clean out our brush once we get this background, and then I'm going to let this dry a little bit. Okay, so now I've got the first layer done, and it's dry. And so I'm going to do a second layer using the same technique. I think I'll start over here. And I want some of my bottom layer to show through, but I'm not blending anything. I'm just doing strokes. Again, I've got my canvas portrait, excuse me, landscape instead of portrait. And I'm just doing strokes. And I'm letting some of the first coat show through, as you can see. Now, if we had not dried the first coat, it would be blending, right? And we don't want blends, we want distinct colors. So this is a really simple project. The only time-consuming part is drying it. Okay. So we'll dry it again. Okay, so our second layer is dry, and you can see that we're getting some kind of interesting strokes and colors kind of peeking through. So I was going to use 3 colors of blue, and then and this is what happens when we're creating art, I noticed that these 2 blues were not particularly, whoops, I just stuck my finger in the paint. That's good. These two blues were not that far apart, so I decided to do more of a contrast, and then I'm going to put white, some white on that as our third layer. And I'm going to do the same thing as I've been doing. And make sure you get your paint all the way up to the edge. Again, we want to see those strokes. And you should make it so you can see all 3 colors. So this will be our last layer for the background. Okay. All right, and again, we hair dryer it. Okay, we've got our background done, and what we want to do is flip our canvas to portrait this time, and we want to have our colors that you've chosen for the cross out here. I'm going with purple first and a gray. You can use browns. I'm going to do a little bit of yellow. So we're going from darker on the bottom to lighter on our layers. I've got my white here if I need to lighten it up a little bit. And the only deviation from my dark to light is that we'll then go over it with some black. Okay. Now, this is just kind of an airy, light sort of painting. So the way that I'm going to do it is no hard lines. So we're just going to use brush strokes to suggest the cross. Okay. So what you want to do is take a pencil and your ruler and do a vertical line that is halfway. And this is going to be the middle of our cross, the upright of the cross. And then remember the 2/3, 1/3 rule? Well, it goes for crosses too. And so we're going to do a horizontal line that is about 1/3 down from the top. Okay. And so I'll hold this up. I don't know if you can see, but here's what my cross looks like. That's all we're going to do. Now these lines are going to be the middle, okay, of our cross, the upright and the horizontal. So what that means is that we're going to paint some on this side of it and on that side of it. Okay, and obviously we're going to paint over the lines too, but I just wanted to be clear. So we'll paint the above and below. Okay, and we'll try to keep it as what do I want to say, even on each side as possible. Okay, so for the cross, I'm going to, one of the ways that we can have contrast between our background and the cross is I'm going to use a smaller flat brush. Okay, and I've got my purple paint out here, and I'm going to go on one side. This does not have to be completely straight. Remember, we're giving the essence of a cross. So it, and then I'm going to paint over my cross lines that I just drew with pencils. Again, we're going to show our brush work. And then I'm going to do on the bottom side. And I'm trying to be, you know, as careful as I can about doing it even, but I'm not going to worry about it. Now, right here, I do have a little bit of a bubble here, so. There we go. All right, and then we're going to, I think I'll put it this way so it's easier for me to get. And then we're going to do the same thing for the crossbar. Trying to keep everything about the same width. I'm going to mark where I want these to be the same width if possible. And it's starting to look like we've got a cross going here. So once you get this layer done, guess what? You get to dry it again, because we're going to move on to another color. Oh, and if you haven't already, I would suggest that you get some clean water, since we are changing our color palette here. All right, so that is dry. So now I'm going to go with my gray. I'm going to use the same size of brush. So we basically are going to repeat it again, showing our brush strokes. I'm going to move this out of the way. You can go over the edge of the cross that you just painted. You want to keep your purple or whatever your bottom color is showing through at places. And then it's time to, so this is what it looks like with the second, and then it's time to dry again. All right, that's dry. So now we're going to use the same brush, cleaned out, and I'm going to use yellow. And start up at the top. And see how it's starting to look more interesting as we put more and more color on there. And we dry it again. Okay, so we're going to use our small flat brush again, and I'm going to put a little bit of white on it and a little bit of black. So I think we can do this without having to dry one, because these really won't be overlapping too much. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to start with some white, and we want to keep it very light. So we're almost, remember how I've told you about dry brushing, where you don't have a lot of paint on your brush. And so you're getting just little bits of it. Well, that's what we want to do here. You can kind of get off some of the paint on your palette if you want. Again, you're able to achieve this because you're not putting too much paint on your brush. Okay, so as I'm looking at it, I don't have enough white up here. I'm softening up some of those edges. Okay, so now I'm going to take my black, and I'm going to keep my black, and you can still use your flat brush, but you're going to, instead of going like this, you're going to take the edge and you're going to go like this. Okay, so you're going to get a skinnier line. Let's see if I can demonstrate on here. Okay, so before we were going like this, and you want to keep it kind of a dry brush. This time we're going to go like this. Okay. And we're going to do that on the edges. Very light hand. So we're in many ways giving it a little bit of a shadow on the edges. Okay. So a dry brush. And then we're going to turn it. And we're going to do the same thing. So this gives our edges a little definition, but it's still kind of a soft touch to it. Okay, for our very last part, I want you to take a really light color. It could be, and I can't tell you exactly what color because I don't know what you ended up painting your cross and that kind of stuff in. But something that's light, very, very light. I've got one that is just an off-white. And when I think of the cross, I think of it sort of glowing here in the center. So we're going to take our smaller brush on the background, and we're going to put some brush strokes, again, kind of dry brushing from the cross down. Oops, I got too much paint there. If you do that, you can dab at it. Remember, it's hard to mess up a painting. We don't want it all the way down. We want it to just sort of highlight where Jesus was positioned on the cross. And we kind of want it to be kind of even. Yet subtle, if that makes sense. Okay, so don't have a lot of paint on your brush. We're using our small brush still. And we're starting from the cross shape and out. Whoopsie, really messed that up. Okay, so let's see what we've achieved here. I kind of like it. It doesn't show up a lot. I think it kind of, yeah, I think it lightens it up enough. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this project, and I wish you a happy Easter. Next week, Tonya, who is another artist, and I will be visiting you in person and painting a fox. So we'll see you soon.